Is it live? I just post the link.
Harry Herskovich, Ace Ghoster.
Oh, Mati. Thank you. Are you sure? Okay.
Don't jump. You don't get the email, right? No, I don't have it. I didn't know what it was. You said, I saw it said the bottom. You can try the clicks.
Oh, there you go.
I know you're going down a rabbit hole. It wasn't morning. It's usually morning. Anyone else you watching this?
We want to talk about it again? 2 years from now. We'll still be climbing. For sure. Oh, I'm on you. How are you? Here you go. I'm excited about for sure.
Well, let me send them.
There's one person on there. The Russian is coming in.
Thank you.
It's going to be an emotional class. Everyone has their thoughts.
I don't know.
Shower.
What's hot?
Something I said.
It's always something you say. It's always something you say. It's never, don't worry, it's okay.
Something I should have said?
And now we're talking.
Wait, someone doesn't like the tissues. They don't like the tissues.
Yeah, that might be a problem.
Wait, did someone tell Rebbe No. I'm sensitive about that. I know it, but
That's what it's meant to be. It's brunch. That's what it's meant to be.
Oh, yeah, you know. That's it. Try to get later reservation. Should I be nervous? Nobody wants to next?
No, it's with the job.
Is Rabin here?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Okay, so it's, I understand it's your father's yahrzeit. So we're thanking Rabin and the Mishpacha for our Chabura, sponsoring our Chabura, Zechen Nishmas, Rabbi Noam Ben Chaim, and today's is his yahrzeit, Shalom Shat Meliyah, Hashem Shali Simcha Nachas and Bracha. So Hashem's graduation time, so that's why I have to make it a little bit earlier, and I have to leave a little bit earlier to get my wife said I have to be on time. so I thought I could come a little bit late. She said, no, like hurt feelings and people. So, okay. we began to learn from this sefer called Dalach Habini, which is a nice title. Very, very choshev sefer. I was looking for more of it over Shabbos, and very healthy hadracha. The sugi that we're talking about, which I for a long time been saying that we have to really get to some conversations about leading into talking to the kids. In the meantime, since I've been promising that, a lot of the guys got married already, and grandchildren and stuff. So we have to learn. So we're on page. I hope you have it. Everybody, folks, take care of this stuff. This is by way of preparing for this conversation, and to see from the tzaddikim. Last week we learned a little bit from the Eish Kodesh, who long ago spoke about the importance of sitting down with the boys and having this conversation. And one of the good things about the Sefer is he brings from a wide range of tzaddikim, from all different, from Sfardish and Chassidish and Litvish and all different. So on page 43, Yishehir beliv kais tofa azu shel his yachasus lenosim elu. One of the tzaddikim of our generation cried a lot about the fact that this subject is not being discussed with the boys in yeshiva, is not being discussed with the boys at home. One of the tzaddikim is Alu Rav Shlomo Volbe. One of the great Bali Musa and tzaddikim of our generation, lived some years ago, was Rav Shlomo Volbe, the author of Alei Shor. V'kach tier es hashlochos, hasidios, aruchos, atavach, halulos lehigaran, michinach she'ena nochem b'nyan hazeh. And Rav Volbe spoke a great deal about the terrible, tragic results that we could expect, Chalila, to come from our ignoring this. I guess they call it again elephant in the room, the inyan of kedusha, kedushas habris, and not talking about it and trying to hold on to the old ways. So Rav Volbe spoke a lot about this and anticipated years ago the fallout that would be as a result of our reticence in discussing this with our kids. And he wrote the following: Hatos mishnos haneurim harishonos she'esraglu liros b'chol davar shebeitzara inyan shel toma. Now this is going to sound very strange. This sentence, look at it carefully. Tos is a mistake. Mishnos haneurim harishonos. The early years of the child, even though we think that being a first grade Rebbe, or when as parents, when we're taking care of when they're little, we don't think of this as being very, very serious. It's just handling with toys and getting them to bed and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is that the early years are unbelievably important. It's like we saw what happened. Remember what was Sandy? So about that storm some years ago. So that all the binyanim that were falling down because there was and what happened was that there was, and then we met by the Twin Towers, that there was something wrong in the foundation. I don't remember the details, but there was something wrong, and when there's something wrong in the foundation, so then a storm comes along, and we're seeing the storm of the storms are getting stronger, the winds of Tumah are getting stronger every year, every hour. They're not getting weaker. And if the foundation has a crack in it, the foundation, meaning of our kesher with the kids at the ages of 5, 6, 7, growing up and getting into teenage years, if there's a crack in the foundation, so then the building is in terrible danger of collapsing when a wind comes. Doesn't have to even be a strong wind. These days, you're watching kids go down with like a breeze, not even a hurricane. When I was growing up, it took like a hurricane or a tornado, like to knock a guy down. Nowadays, it's like some friend comes around and goes, and the guy's finished. You just need a little breeze of something, and the guy's finished. Or he's learning, or he's davening, done. A breeze. And being exposed to stuff on the phone, being exposed, a good friend is always that friend. Being exposed to something is not just a little poof. That's for an innocent frum boy. That's a tsunami. So if there's a crack in the foundation, so the fall is terrible. So Rav Wolbe traces it back to something very, very, very big, very important. And let's look at the sentence carefully. Hatos mishnos hanorim harishanos. The mistake that takes place in the early years of the kids. This is the mistake. She'esraglu liros b'chol davar shebein sahara inyan shel tumah. That from the earliest time that they're in school, everything that they hear about the Yetzer Hara, whenever they taught about the Yetzer Hara, is the Yetzer Hara equals Tumah. In other words, the Yetzer Hara makes sense. It's the Yetzer Hara. So everything about the Yetzer Hara is what? Is Tumah. So, Chaver, what's wrong with that? Isn't that right? Isn't it true that the Yetzer Hara? Look at the Hatos, but the Mashgiach is saying Hatos mishnois hanurim harishonish shehisraglu. This is the mistake. Shehisraglu liros b'chol davar shebeit Sahara inyan shel tumah. What's wrong with, before we read on? What's wrong with that? That's how I was taught. I think we all heard that. Isn't it true? So why does the Mashgiach say it's a tos? It's a mistake. I mean, he's going to tell us, but why would that be a mistake?
Doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be equal to Tumah. Yetzer Hara is with you all the time. You have to incorporate that in your life. And if you think it's just Tumah, and you reject it completely, and you don't know how to deal with it.
Correct. So those of us, Baruch Hashem, who have spent now years being involved and exposed and learning Torah Hashem, the answer is pretty obvious that it's not per se Tumah. It's all a question of how you use this and how you relate to the Yetzer Hara. So the Mashgiach, but for this is news for a lot of people. But the way he explains it is the kol kach hishtarish mabat zeh. This mabat, this perspective of Yetzer Hara, evil, tumah, devil, ears, tail, pitchfork. This perspective, kol kach hishtarish mabat zeh b'bnei Torah tzi'irim. This is a monumental paragraph. This way of looking at the Yetzer Hara as being the personification of the devil, which is a Christian thing, of seeing it as the personification of evil, has taken such root in the Bnei Torah Tzi'irim, in the innocent Bnei Torah, the young Bnei Torah, Ad shachar kach kishehem nigoshim l'chasonasam. I've had so many guys over the years that came to talk to me about this. This is the way that they usually present it to guys. Until now, I was told that this is the most disgusting, horrible aveira. You're never allowed to think about it, to touch, to talk, to have anything to do. And the nekeva is the tempter, is the seducer, is the side of Ra. That's the nekeva. And then the next thing you know, this guy is like taking pictures with his collar. And then they're telling him that he goes to his first chassan class, and the chassan teacher has this like very serious, look on the face and says something like this: I want you to know that this is like the biggest mitzvah in the world. And if it's a chassidisha type of a person, then he'll say something like, "Is yichud kutshabichu shchintei?" And this guy is looking around. Yichud kutshabichu shchintei. I thought yichud's usher. Yichud kutshabichu shchintei. Yeah, you know, this is the biggest mitzvah in the world. What you're going to do, what we're going to talk about now for the next 6 weeks or so, this is the biggest mitzvah in the world. So here you got a guy, he's coming from his whole education. Everything he ever heard was, no, don't, you can't look there, you can't talk about it, you can't think about it, you can't be mahara in it, nothing at all. And if you do, it's bad, it's ugly, it's disgusting, it's bad. And now all of a sudden, someone's telling him this is such a beautiful thing. This is the most beautiful mitzvah in the Torah. After a complete indoctrination, with the best intentions always, but an indoctrination into a perspective of this being the personification of evil, of being the devil incarnate. Girls, women, the whole inyan is evil, is dirty, is disgusting. So the Mashgiach says, so then afterwards, when it's time to get married, then it seems to them then also that their oisik now, their life now is a life which is involved with tum. Now this might sound extreme, it's not extreme at all. I would say it's typical, not atypical. How did something change from tumah to tahara just because all of a sudden it's hilchas nida? Or we call it taharas mishpacha. How did it change all of a sudden from being something dirty to something beautiful? From something forbidden to something which is a mitzvah. So I understand. So then there's the halachas, and so then the teacher says she goes to the mikveh. So to them that's okay. She goes to the mikveh. So she dips into the water, and then she comes out from the water, and then it's not just mutlach. It's also a mitzvah, and it's gevaldik, and it's yichud kutshabichu shchintei. They're not crossing over that place like that. So what happens? I mean, hopefully at some point, but what happens is like this. There is this deep-seated fear of the girls. There's a deep-seated, with all the attraction that comes with that, and the hirui avera that they've had and they've been fighting against, trying to be good boys because they're great and they try to be good. They're trying to be good. And now all of a sudden you're saying that this is a mitzvah, and everything is fine, a couple of classes, mikveh, yalla. So the problem is, the Mashgiach is saying, deep inside they still look at this as being something which is dirty. Now the ones who suffer most from that perspective are their wives, who are oftentimes treated in a way that's not a way of tahara by their from husbands. Because if the guy looks at himself as being essentially engaged in an act of impurity, I don't care if you went to the mikveh in a half, you go into the water, then you go. If essentially somebody says Harei Mekudeshesli, they put a ring on he puts a ring on, and all of a sudden it's a gevaldige mitzvah. He knows that in halacha, but in reality, the association is made between this lady that he's living with now, and the 1,000 girls he was dreaming about and thinking about when he was a bacher, and hitting himself. What's the matter with me? What's the matter with me? I can't do this. This is terrible. This is terrible. I'm a Russia, especially if he acted out on it. I'm a Russia. And now he's married to some nice, frum girl who just wants to have a normal, healthy life. And he's not in a place in his head of this being normal and healthy. Because he was always taught that this is not normal and not healthy. And the fact that you put a ring on the girl and she dipped in the water, doesn't again, officially, everything's okay. But psychologically, it's still dirty. And if he's doing stuff that's dirty, then he doesn't feel A, great about himself, and then B, he could treat her in a way that's not clean. Even though they're a frum couple. He could treat her in a way that's not appropriate. And she's like this nice frum girl, and like, what's with you? Well, it's mutter, it's mutter. Now everything's permitted. Everything's permitted. Yeah, but I thought you were a fine person. You're asking me to do things that are not nice. So he's going to say, look, I saw a movie like that when I was 16, And I'm just continuing on, except now it's halachically permissible. It was the dirty stuff that I saw, what I felt very guilty about, and did tshuva for and cried about when I was 16, because I watched some video, and I acted out something. That dirty thing, guess what? Now I can be dirty, and I'm not doing an avera. That's bad. Because he continues to look at this as being be'etzem tumah. It's being an inyan of tumah. So the Mashgiach this is what he's saying. It seems to the guys then also, I'm still in the world of tumah, the one that I was trying to fight against, and I'm now permitted to be in the world of tumah. But there's this amazing thing called marriage, and you do this thing, and the rabbi says a bracha, and the girl goes to the mikveh, and the next thing you know, the tumah, the maisa, which is betzim maisa, that's dirty, the tumah is mutter. So the Mashgiach says, kamuvan, ein lecha ta'os gedolim yizu. There is no greater mistake than this. Now we're going to have to figure out what to do. A parent has to figure out what to do, and the rebbe need to figure out. So then, how are you supposed to work that out? Like with the teaching when they're younger, and then crossing over into marriage. But first, the Mashgiach is saying, this is ein lecha tos gedolim yizu. There is no greater mistake than this. And to our great disappointment and pain, the teachers are not careful with this. And they're constantly talking about the tumah of the Yetzer Hara. Not whether something is necessarily right or wrong, whether it's permitted or not permitted, but the tumah of the Yetzer Hara, the ugliness, the filth of the Yetzer Hara. Bimkom, now what should they be teaching? Again, everybody means well, but bimkom lechanech talmideim ladaz, like Jay was saying, ladaz she'etzar hu davar sheb'kedusha. Instead of raising the kids, now for this obviously you would be required to teach Torah on a deeper level, which we'll be screaming about all the years. Because when you look at the superficial part of Torah, it's all about it. It looks all about like Tumah. But what the Mashgiach is saying, instead of what they should be doing, parents and teachers, to educate the kids that the Yetzer Hara is a davar sheb'kedusha. It's a davar sheb'kedusha. In Kabbalah, Chassidus comes from a higher place, the highest place, higher even than the Nefesh Elokis, which I'm not going into right now. Who davar sheb'kedusha? The be'etzim is a davar sheb'kedusha. U'memela tzrichim l'shan roi b'kedusha. It's a davar sheb'kedusha, and a davar sheb'kedusha, like tefillin in a Sefer Torah, a davar sheb'kedusha has to be guarded in a way of kedusha. Not that it's a davar tumah. This chiluk is two different worlds. Not worlds, galaxies. And it's so subtle how this mistake is made at how the kid's brain is from the beginning wired in that way, which is why so many of the guys feel like they're hypocrites and living double lives. That here I'm supposed to be some yeshiva guy, a ben Torah, and my whole head is filled with tumah. So Mela, they begin to be split in that way, and when you feel that you're split in that way, you begin to live you begin to live two different lives, and you could some of them try to cover that up and try to continue on until the wedding. They figure after the wedding it's going to be fine. There are others that just can't go on like that, and they just give up. The guys that just give up, and giving up for many of them just means, Mela, my head is with tumah, so they just dive into the tumah, and I'm not going to fake. I'm going to take off the lavush and whatever, take off whatever comes along with that. It could be Shabbos, could be that, whatever else comes along with that, because they can't bear this double life, because there's a part of their lives that's tahara, go to shul, daven, learn, tahara, sit at the Shabbos table, kari b'noilon. It's a world of tahara, but then there's the world of tumah. And if you read this, if you read the books that are out there, a lot of the books, and if you listen to some of this, like I mentioned last week, some of the Ashanim, the things that they're saying, it's all about that. Constantly, they're hearing 1,000. The boys are growing up hearing thousands of talks like this. So they don't know what to do with this information. And then they get married. And what does this act mean now? How did it change be'etzem? Just because halachically it's permissible? So our answer to that would be yes. Now it's permitted. In other words, that's right. The ring is not stam a ring. It was kiddushin, kedas Moshe v'Yisrael, and there was shavuot brachos and mikveh, and everything is done properly. So now it's fine. So we say, don't worry. You put your arm around the guy, and you say, everything's okay. What about all the stuff that I heard for the last 20 years? No. That's before the ring and the mikveh. But now that you had put the ring on, and that she went to the mikveh, now it's the Shem Yichud. And then you feel like you're done with the shmuz, and they're going to live happily ever after. It's a lot pashut. It's just not pashut. That living happily ever after, it's not pashut.
Is the answer that you shouldn't start teaching this custom in college classes a week before, a month before? You should really start at 6 or 8 or 10.
No, exactly. That's the answer. That's what the Mishgiach is saying. And even though we didn't do this years ago, but we have to do it now. I'm not going to go why was it years ago and how did they manage. That's not. We don't have time for that. But the Metzias is that's exactly what the Mishgiach is saying. That we have to begin from an early age. Once already you're not putting them to the bathtub together, you have to start talking from an early age of what's going on over here. And if you haven't done that when they're 6 or 7, the Mishgiach is saying you better take care of this before Bar Mitzvah time. You better start working on this. And again, the clock is ticking. The Mashgiach already died a few years ago, and the clock is ticking. But the damage is so deep, and the boys are suffering from it so much, and they don't know. They can't talk about it, not even with each other usually. And then when they get into their marriage, then this nice innocent girl is married to a guy who she thought is like a regular nice yeshiva brother, and he's got all kinds of inyanim.
Like what? Like in your experience, what do you see? You see guys get married and they're just like married perverts?
They want to do stuff in the room that the girls are totally uncomfortable with. I don't want to be graphic, But in terms of and then you have some of these new chassan teachers that say, yeah, it's okay. That the things in terms of the type of intimacy that these girls are not comfortable with, they're just nice, modest girls. They're not comfortable with it, not from a movie or from a picture.
They see it online. They see this online.
Yeah, the guys saw stuff, and the girls are not comfortable with this at all, and also has to do with the frequency and the expectations that they have, because they're coming from some movie, and she's coming from Beis Yaakov, and these are two different galaxies. She's coming from, but it looks on the surface like they're both coming from, like, he's a regular yeshiva guy and she's a nice yeshiva girl, and they're coming from the same world. They're not. To begin with, everybody knows that the Zach and the Cave is two different worlds, like without any of this stuff. And then he's got all kinds of secrets and stuff in his head. Again, I'm not saying everyone. And even if he kept a clear head, it's been all the time standing there with a sword, like fighting off the enemy. And she's not like that. She's just like a happy, nice young lady that's just wants to marry, and her tzaddik of a chassan who's planning to bring her to Olam Haba with his learning and his davening. And this guy's either a warrior, or he lost. Either he's been fighting and to some degree fighting off the dragon, the evil that lurks in the hearts of men, or he lost. And he gave into it a lot. He gave into it. Either way, she's marrying somebody that's not like her at all. And it comes out in that funny place where nobody else in the world goes except him, her, and the Bari Olam. No one else is there. That's where it comes out. Anybody that's a therapist or deals with people day to day, they're in Yonim knows that this is a huge issue. See, he and it's not his fault. It's not his fault. Again, the boys are beautiful boys, and they want to be good. And whether they are winning the war or they're losing the war, they're scarred and tired. And they get married to this fresh, happy, nice young girl, this young lady, and she just wants to have a clean, normal life, what she considers, what she thought was normal. And she never saw that stuff, and she never got into that whole sugya. Again, some girls do, that's much less frequent. And she's just a nice girl. She gets some guy that's like insatiable, or has strange requests, or just does things to her that she says, oh, of course. So he might even show that Ki'ilu, she enjoys it, when all the time that she is putting on this show because she's afraid to lose her husband. So she's making believe that she enjoys it, but deep inside of her, she loathes him. I'm not making this stuff up. I talk to people all the time. She loathes him. She's disgusted with him. She thinks he's an animal. And when does it come out? In therapy, years later. And he says, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you say anything? I wouldn't have done that if you would have, maybe yes, maybe no. I wouldn't have done that if I knew that it bothered you. You said you were fine. Then he'll say, it'll even seem to me that you were enjoying it. What was I supposed to do? And every night, and then twice. And I don't want to, it's not nice to talk too much in a way that's not appropriate. But And he said, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? I would have listened to you. I would have respected you. And then you wanted me to do this thing, and because you thought it would be fun if we did that thing. And he said, well, you seem to enjoy it. And in her heart, a loathing. She sees him with his talus over his head, and she looks at him like a phony. She said, no, you have no respect for me. You never respected me. You just your bal taiva, just you and your taivas every night, and taivas and things to do, and all this ways to please you. Did you ever even ask? Did you ever think maybe I would be uncomfortable with this? So how did such a thing come to be? This is what the Mashgiach is saying.
mean,
He's just saying it much nicer than I just said it. But you could be sure that when you spoke to Mashgiach privately, he was totally on the wall. Mashgiach, Rav, totally. What were you saying? What was that, Mordechai?
I was just,
Oh, Chaim.
even if instead of those cases that Rebbe is referring to, but it's someone who's more moderate, I think what the point that the Mashgiach is saying here is just what I'm hearing is that instead of this being an experience of attachment, it then creates a block and a disconnect, which is no problem because in the head is looking at something that's not pure. So instead of attaching, there's the opposite thing is happening. There's a block and a disconnect, which is the tragedy.
Right. I'll interrupt you. You want to say? So then, what Chaim is saying is very important. So that's the second part of that. I was going to say that when we get to the end of the paragraph. The second part of this is the horrible option, which oftentimes plays out in a total disconnect. In other words, that this guy cannot take this. He can't bear this kind of a life, and it creates a horrible wedge between him and his wife. Well, again, the wife is okay with this, and the husband is not okay with it. So there are those two possible extremes. One is acting out like an animal, and the other is being an angel. And neither of those are the Ratzon Hashem. Hashem wants us to be good guys, not animals and not angels. He's got angels and he's got animals, but he wants us to be good guys. Now, to be a good guy means that this is in a way of kedusha, tahara, and the way that's respectful, that's dignified, the way that Jews treat each other, husband and wife. So for some guys, it's I'm a shtick to him anyway. There's all he just gives into that, and for the other guy, he can't be with her. And even if he's able to be with her somehow physically to work it out, still there's an emotional blockage, a deep emotional blockage. Why? Because she is the cause, this girl that I married, she is the cause of my downfall. She made a churban out of me. How did she make a churban out of you? Because when I was in yeshiva, I never did stuff like this. I never did stuff like this. What kind of crazy things is this? I never did anything like that. This was weird stuff. I never did anything like that. I was in yeshiva. I was just, above a camera, I never did stuff like that. So she is, here it is, the devil incarnate. With her shaitel and her sleeves, she's the devil incarnate. That's the other extreme. It's so unbelievably, pathologically unhealthy. And let's just finish the words of the Mashgiach. He says, the correct chinuch is that this is a davar shebekdusha. Now, how do you do that? That's what we're going to be trying to talk about with the conversation. This is a davar shebekdusha. But and anything that's a davar shebekdusha needs to have a proper shmira with proper boundaries. And you have to wait, and you have to guard. The same thing with the Sefer Torah and the Tefillin. It's a davar shebekdusha. And the davar shebekdusha needs a strong shmira, and needs patience, and it needs to be taken care of in a dignified, respectful way. It's a davar shebekdusha. Not a davar shebetum, a davar shebetum, everything is tum. Tum, something that's tum, you treat as a. How do you treat you find a mouse, you find something in the house, you find a bug, you find the mouse nice. You say, Reb Mouse, I want to talk to you about this. Well, you find a mouse, take in a trap, and erase it from the house out. So when something is a piece of tumah, you treat it in the way that you're supposed to treat something that's tumah. How do you treat something that's tumah? That's how a lot of guys treat their wives. It's a shtick tumah. She's a shtick tumah. What did she do? She did nothing wrong. She is tumah. Something's the kedusha of them. Either that, or you just enter deep into the world of tumah. You go into the garbage. You go into the cesspool. Or the other extreme is mechlal no shaychus, to run away from. Instead, what the Mashgiach is saying is that from the very, very early age, from the beginning, it has to be taught differently. What's the inyan of Kedusha? The guys don't know what Kedusha means. They don't know what Tumah is. They don't know what Kedusha is. Sichim l'shamro b'Kedusha. V'ilu chunchu hatalmidim kacha, and if the boys would be educated in this way, from an early age, like Ernie said, from an early age, hoyu yoidim be'ez bo'em bebrisim bas gilam, then it would be driven deep into their minds, into their hearts, so that when they meet, when it comes time to get married, bas gilam the kala, ki beis mikdash holchem livnos. They're not going to a place to have a pornographic movie theater with svarim in the house and mezuzahs on the door. They're going to build a Beis HaMikdash. They're going to build a Beis HaMikdash together. Beis Mikdash holchem livnos. They're going to build a place of holiness together. This is something which is holy, and it needs to be treated in the way of Kedusha, and we're going to build a home of Kedusha together. It is not dirty, it is not ugly, it is not tamei. So we need to think of ways, how do you keep the boys behaving well when they're growing up without going to the whole tumah thing? Instead of changing the whole mindset of being dovish b'kedusha, shmiras hamikdash, which we call it shmiras habris, shmiras habris, shmiras hakedusha, not tomei. Yetzar. There's a cousin of mine told me, it's a Satmar Chassid, when we were kids. So he told me that he went to a camp in the country, a very strong Chassidish camp. It wasn't a Satmar camp; it was a different camp. But he went to this Chassidish camp, and the camp bought this place, and they had a pool, a swimming pool, and it was the first day of camp, and there was some older bacher there. He told me, I remember this. I was maybe 8 years old when he told us. 9 years old, there was some Chassidish older bacher there, and they were coming to the pool, and he started to yell, "Tumah!" It's a tumah from the Goyim swimming pool. To have a thing like that, a tumah, and then a bunch of guys took. He told me a bunch of guys took from the kitchen hundreds of glasses. They took from the kitchen, and they broke all the glasses and threw it into the swimming pool. Welcome to camp. You can have a great summer, guys. That's it. Swimming pools. It was because somehow in that deranged bacher's mind, and it's not his fault either. This is somehow associated with what? With, I don't know, Hollywood? Pools, girls standing around in bathing suits. Like, why can't the guy go in a swimming pool? That too is a shtick tumah. Swimming pool is a tumah. And if you're the kind of guy that goes into a swimming pool, we already know what kind of guy you are. It's all of us have been guilty of that problem. If you go into a swimming pool, what about a lake? God made that, I guess. I don't know how they deal with that. But a swimming pool is a geisha. A swimming pool is a geisha. And this, you know, it's funny, but at the same time, in the mind of a little kid, in the mind of a little boy, it makes deep dents and creates terrible misunderstanding of and it's a total misrepresentation of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And the guy is a kanoi, this guy is the kanoi, and you know, he tussled up the swimming pool. I don't know what happened afterwards. I don't remember the rest of the story. That was the interesting part. But maybe somebody fixed it up. I don't know. But and I remember I said to my father, you know, that this cousin told me. He told me this mice happened. My father said, "You should go." He said, "Don't worry, I'm not sending you to that place." So I went to another place where the night activity was taking chatzais. So this is what the Mishkan is saying. Lo mokum mutal l'tumah chas v'shalom. You're going to into a place to build a mikdash. Lo mokum mutal l'tumah. Yeah, you're not getting married to now live a life where tumah is permitted. You're not now going into a place into a building tumah muteres. But that's what they're thinking. I mean, it's a generalization, but a lot of the chevra, tuma muteros. Why? I put a ring on her finger. I said some words. I don't know what they mean. She went into the water. Tuma muteros. And then guess what? The lady inside of that building is going to be treated like a shtik tuma. Either that, or like Chaim was saying, whoa. Guy runs the other way, and they can't connect. Problems. Coach, therapy, the whole yesod is crooked. And when the yesod of that relationship is crooked, then the building is every time they're together, the building is shifting. And at some point, well, this is what we have to change. That's what Mishka says we have to talk about it in a different way, in a way of kedusha, in a way which is the pnimis of Torah, which is what Hashem meant. To be continued.